The first thing I want to start with is a direct message on Twitter that Natalia Dooley sent to me last night to try to drive home a point. So a teacher from Enterprise, Alabama sent out a tweet, and then one of my partners who teaches down there immediately tweeted at Natalia and me and said, hey, can you guys help her out? And so we sent her a link to the Google Drive folder of all of our resources, and I DM'd her with a good explanation of all the resources and what I was sending her and stuff. And then about an hour later, Natalia tweeted me back a private message that said, I just did a search to confirm, and there is still almost nothing out there. We truly are exploring uncharted waters. And so I think that's really important to sort of point out right off the bat, is that there's absolutely no roadmap for what we're doing right now for digital portfolios. There are some companies that offer some proprietary services that are very, very expensive, you know. But even then, that doesn't really take care of instruction. That doesn't take care of what the teachers and the students need in the moment. It just takes care of the web-based service that they'll use and the database and all that stuff. And so we noticed that early summer, or actually last year when we started piloting this at James Clemens, we noticed there's nothing out there. There's things out there for portfolios for like art students and things, but nothing for the general ed student who's is flexible and doing all kinds of things. And so we've dedicated this entire year to really exploring and creating an entire system that can be shared with anyone else in the world and used by anyone else in the world. And we're really excited about that. We're in the process of creating a digital portfolio documentary that we're going to put out in the summer. And with that documentary, we're also going to release free to the world all of the resources that we've generated. Because we believe that'll help us establish us further as leaders in education in Madison City, but also we think that teachers need to be stealing things from each other and sharing with each other, and we want to really help inspire that and get that momentum going with portfolios.
So, if I can interject for just a second, if you think there's not much out there, so maybe there's not much interest, and that's quite the opposite. There's not much out there, and we're getting bombarded with messages, questions everywhere we go. Everybody wants to do it, and everybody's scared to do it because there's no crutch. There's nothing out there.
Right.
So that's what we kind of.
Everybody's talking about it. Mark Prinsky, when he came, he was talking about it, but he couldn't point us where we needed to go, So,
just using that as admissions now, the top colleges, 80 of the top colleges are beginning this April to use digital portfolios as an alternative to testing and everything else. So this is just now beginning to become a reality, and everybody's exploring that. I feel like we're getting a little ahead of that.
Yeah. And that's going to continue to grow for sure. So anyway, that was kind of a lot of our primary motivation for this, and a lot of my friends, and myself included, have seen significant jumps in career and life goals because they have a place on the internet that they call their own. And so we really want to just empower all of our kids in Madison City to experience the same thing, and now all of our teachers. What we're going to work with you guys on today is kind of the middle of the road that we've developed for really 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or 5, 6, 7th, and 8th. That's kind of, hey Laura, how you doing?
Hi, good, how are you?
We've scaled it down to 3rd grade and even kindergarten, and we've scaled it up to high school, and Laura's definitely one of the ones who's helped do that. Cindy Husky and Nikki Robertson at James Clemens and Bob Jones have done a lot with high school as well. But what we're showing you today is actually, it's pretty scalable. Even though it's kind of created for kids, I think you're going to find these organizers and things really useful. So what you're about to see is exactly what a room full of students would see. So we're just going to walk you through that so that you can see it and be familiar with it, but also because it's relevant for you too. So we have broken this process up into a bare minimum of 3 phases. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Phase 1 typically is whole group. We like to get a cafeteria or an auditorium, preferably a cafeteria so that there are tables. And we use a projector, and we have, for instance, at Heritage, we have the entire 6th grade all at once. So over 100 kids in there, and all the teachers are in there, we're all 3 in there. A lot of times we'll invite a student or 2 to come with us, a high school student, to help sort of, give the kids' perspective on it. And we do a whole group session for 1.5 or 2 hours, and it's just like a momentum building get all the basics out of the way, do a little brainstorming, things like that, and then we leave them. And we probably wouldn't see them for another week or two.
And then we have homework, and the homework is think.
Yeah.
They get scared and we say think.
Think about yourself. And that's something that we think our kids do all the time. We think they're the selfie generation, and that's kind of true. But they really maybe aren't reflective, or as reflective as they could be. They like to show, but they don't like to reflect as much, or they're not accustomed to reflecting as heavily as maybe I would. And so our mantra, no matter what grade level we work with, is always the same: show, then reflect. And that through line, that conceptual through line, is relevant for all age groups. And it's kind of the thing that ties this whole push together: show, then reflect. So what is a digital portfolio? This is sort of the basic definition that we've come up with: to digitize, purposeful, and shareable collection of artifacts and reflections that shows the student's efforts, progress, and achievements in one or more areas of curriculum and life. And life is one of the most important parts of this definition. A lot of times kids have a hard time believing us when we say, what we're about to do is truly about your passions. It's not just about your grades and your classes. It's about who you are and what you like to do away from school, just as much as it is about school. And so we got a couple of home pages there that you can see. We walk them through why we do this: to encourage self-reflection and ownership, to push a positive digital footprint and shape your identity online and in life. This process can help someone shape their identity, really help them reflect on who they are, set goals for themselves, and actually, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you refer to yourself as a dancer on your digital portfolio and you're constantly showing and reflecting about your dancing, you're more likely to achieve higher levels in the dance category. And so this digital footprint piece is really important too. I think teaching digital citizenship kind of the old way, where you've got a projector up and you walk somebody through a PowerPoint, you walk a whole group through a PowerPoint about digital citizenship, that's one thing, but I think it's just barely skimming the surface. I think we have to teach by doing. We have to teach by allowing our students to do. And so by actually going through this process, they understand digital citizenship on a much deeper level. And they also work to push any negative or questionable content about themselves deeper and deeper into digital oblivion, right? So if you bombard the internet with positive content with your name attached to it, then that first page or 2 or 3 pages on Google results are going to look really good to employers, internship opportunities, scholarships, and colleges. So that's the digital footprint piece. To express and record deep thinking. A lot of times it's hard in a school setting when you got 30 kids to express and record deep thinking. There are ways to do it, but this is an added way to do it: to celebrate creation, to prepare for college and careers. And you'd be surprised, some of you maybe not. We got a lot of elementary teachers in here. You may be surprised to see just how mindful our 5th and 6th graders are already of college and career. But they need a little kick, and this gives them that. So we always find some way, dependent on the age group, to walk our kids through Bloom's taxonomy. I don't think it's ever too early to understand this concept. And so we walk them through the importance of the upper levels of Bloom's. And if we're talking to a room full of 5th graders, we may use bubble gum as sort of a metaphor to understand it. But if we're in upper level grades, we'll go a little bit deeper with it. But it really helps them understand this process a little more. And I'm going to give you guys access to this whole folder too. I'll email that out to you after. How do we do it? We start early. I don't think there is a too early in the world of digital portfolios. We're focused extremely heavily on 5th and 6th grade, and that's because we want to lay the foundation so that when these kids move into middle school and high school and start truly keeping their eye on scholarships and jobs, that they're already going to understand the fundamentals. You have to think it through and plan. And that may sound obvious, but I've seen a few people hand laptops to students and say, hey, get on Wix or Weebly and make your portfolio. I'll be here if you need me, or something like that. And really, the first 2 phases of our process, they don't even touch a device. It's all paper and pencil, and it's thinking and talking. And that process, and Dr. Fowler was here at our last session, And he really struggled with the process of categorizing his life into 8 or less categories. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. So you have to really think and talk and write before you can make something that you're proud of. You have to integrate it into your classes, and it has to be part of your school culture. Everybody in the school has to be on board and understand it. Otherwise, that momentum is not going to develop enough to carry it forward. So if a principal is witnessing something happening in a STEM class, the principal needs to be empowered and knowledgeable enough about what's going on to say, that's amazing. Let's take 10 minutes out and put that in your digital portfolio. So everybody in the culture needs to understand it. And it's really, really, really important to have a one-to-one mentor. And we haven't worked as much with our kids as we would like to on this. We're going to focus heavily on this in the future. Developing some one-to-one relationship with someone that they can trust, hopefully an objective party. I know that when I show my wife a piece of art that I do or something, or even my portfolio, if she says something negative about it, I get kind of offensive, or I get kind of offended. And so it's really important that the kids have someone that they know and trust that they can lean on to criticize their work in a meaningful way. So, what is it? A deeper look. Quite simply, it's a website. What you guys are going to do tonight is start building a website. And that's what we do with kids. It's nothing fancy. It's not some proprietary thing that people can't access. It's a www dot something. So it's really easy to find. The way we've done it is free. And that's really important. And it's kind of where we lean all the time. I believe that in 2016, most of what we need online can be free if we do it right. And so we're using free resources. It's real world. The internet's not going anywhere. We maybe didn't know about that. We weren't sure if it was going to stick around maybe in the late 90s, but we're pretty solid on it now. It's all about identity. And there's that mantra that I mentioned earlier. Show, then reflect every time. Everything that a student puts in his or her portfolio is about showing and then reflecting. And what we found is, 90% of your kids have Instagram accounts. They're really good at showing. They're really good at it. They know how to take a photo. They know how to shoot some video. They know how to post something relevant. But it's that reflection piece, that meaningful caption that so often they struggle with. And it's future-proof. Like I said, the web's not going anywhere. This thing can evolve over time. And a 6th grader who starts now, by the time they graduate, it seems like maybe that thing that they started in 6th grade is not relevant. But because it's a constantly living and breathing thing that's evolving online, it's never going to get old. It's never going to be something that they trash and have to start over on, unless they just want to, which many kids will do when they get to high school, I imagine. So, the first interactive piece that we do with students, and we're going to ask you to do the same, is brainstorm, just for about 60 seconds or so. So you have a sheet. It looks just like this. It says brainstorm in front of it, right? So I just want you to take about 60 seconds and try to answer those 2 questions. Write anything you can think there. The first question is, what could you use your portfolio for? Obviously, we're going to have quite different answers from you guys than we do from 6th graders, maybe. And then who is your audience? So, does anybody want to share out the answer to the first question? What could you use your portfolio for? Or you could put yourself in your student's shoes and answer it that way, too, either one.
For me, it's to display my artwork.
Cool. Great.
Classroom activities for me.
Okay.
I can show them and then reflect on them.
Yeah. Okay. And that whole concept could grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. Anybody else want to share what they were doing? Yeah.
We need to showcase my beliefs in art education.
Okay.
That is important.
Great. Do you hope, I guess let's move to question number 2. Do you hope that your students will see your portfolio, or is it more for an adult audience?
I think students and parents.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for community, right? If they can really see who you are and see a little bit deeper image of who you really are as a person and as an educator, that's important. Anybody else have anything else in the audience? Yeah.
Well, I teach at UAH, and my students know me very one-dimensionally.
Right.
I teach.
Right.
That's what I do. I'm the math teacher, and so I wanted to. I'd like to put that on my website at school as a person. I have a lot of biographical stuff, but I'd like to have more personal stuff.
Yeah.
And when I was writing to my audience, I said college kids, And then I wrote my kids, because even, I have adult children, so my kids see me
Sure.
one-dimensionally also.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I've heard with adults before, when we ask that question, I've heard for posterity. I mean, they really want to leave something behind and let their kids see. And a lot of us have kids that are all over the map, right? So it's important. And some of us use Facebook for that, and I do. But it's good to have like a curated spot, you know, somewhere where you've really curated and really thought through the content that you put on there that you want the world to see. It's a little bit different than Facebook. All right, so at this point in the game, we'll have kids share out and stuff, and then we ask the kids to do this. So please do this now. When's the last time you Googled yourself?
And you won't believe it, with fifth graders, sixth graders, they find a lot about themselves, and they say, I didn't put that there.
I've never done that.
You've never Googled yourself?
No.
Cool, let's do it.
I don't like to do that.
For me personally as a professional, I think it's important that we do it from time to time. Just to make, it's kind of like checking your credit score. You know what I mean?
Make sure that you bring us still positive.
Just take a minute or two and Google it yourself. And if you see something interesting, maybe shout it out.
It's funny how different it is for people with different last names, because like Laura Smith is very common. Like
Right.
I hardly ever see things come up on the first page.
Right. And that's
but
really,
if I stick my maiden name in the middle.
yeah,
then
now you got it,
then
yeah.
pops up.
And that's a really important point that a lot of our kids recognize. I mean, a lot of our kids have sort of standard names like that, you know, where it's a first and a last name that's really common. And what that helps them realize is that if an employer Googles them and they can't find them, then maybe, you know, maybe they might think a little bit less of them or something. So we help them sort of find ways to make them jump to higher pieces of Google results. What's really cool, we've done this a few times. What's really cool is in the mornings, a lot of times when the three of us are about to go to Columbia, for instance, to do digital portfolios, we'll tweet about it at 7 or 6 a.m. And then when we get there, we'll Google ourselves, and the #1 Google result is that tweet that we sent out that morning. And that shows the kids that timely relevance of what they're doing in the moment. Anybody find anything interesting? Our kids mostly find pictures that their mom has posted on Facebook. And honestly, that angers about 80%. Because they had no control over that. Hey, Mike. If the first 3 pages of someone's Google results are all positive, an employer's not going to dig any deeper than that. They're not going to jump to page 17. So that's really the purpose of this activity, is to sort of help expose them to that. So now let's look at a few of our students' portfolios, and you guys can keep kind of digging through the Google results if you like. The first one I'm going to show you is quite possibly my favorite one that I've seen so far. And one of the things I love about Maggie's, and Maggie is Molly's daughter, she's a junior at Bob Jones. One of the things I love about Maggie is that no one asked her to do this, right? She started doing this on her own before this was a thing in Madison City. And she's really worked this year very hard to refine it and get it to where she wants it to be. And she's using it to apply to SCAD, maybe among other places, I don't know. But man, if I was a SCAD admittance officer, and I saw this, I'd be like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Let's get Maggie Moore in here. So you can see, this is Maggie's homepage. She's an artist, plain and simple, but she's a lot of other cool things. Maggie has an About Me page. First of all, it's important to note that a junior in high school is confident sending this portfolio to colleges and having her social media feeds featured on her homepage. That says a lot about Maggie. It says that I'm comfortable. I'm not anything in secret that I'm not willing for you to see, that I don't want you to see. So she's got an About Me page here. And Maggie used Weebly, which is not what we're going to use today. But it's just as good. It's really great service. Her About Me page here, I can believe anything into existence, she says. She's got some really beautiful photography. She's got a really cool little video here. It's just a little video introduction to her. And then she's got some other stuff. She's got a placeholder there. It's a work in progress. And then if you hover over the arts, this submenu pops up, and it says the artist, the author, the musician, the actors, and the model. And when you click on, I'll just click on one and show you, man, this thing is tough. The artist. Look at that. Gorgeous, isn't it? One really, really cool thing, she's got a section on this page called My Journey. And you can see here, she's reflected on everything. I painted this picture when I was 4 years old. So she's showing her progression as an artist over time. And that's really cool and really important. It shows a lot of humility and a lot of confidence all at the same time. And you can see how far she's come. That's what we want to do. That's why we're starting early. We want our kids to have this bank of work over the years. And Google Drive has liberated us to do that too. So with Google Drive, these kids are going to maintain this Google Drive account all the way from kindergarten, all the way through graduation. And so they can continuously add stuff to it. Even if it's not on their portfolio, they have a place in the cloud with unlimited storage where they can keep as much as they want. And we're working with younger kids to help them understand organizational skills using Google Drive. So there's a lot more there. There's education, clubs and classes, scores, official resume, and statement of purpose. Really cool for a junior in high school to already be thinking about this thing. So a resume is not dead. I would never say that digital portfolios are replacing a resume. They're definitely not replacing a transcript anytime soon, right? It's an extra added bonus at the moment. And this resume is here, and it's a one-pager. It's a piece of paper. You print it out. But this is an interactive portfolio where people can explore who Maggie is. She's got leadership. She's a martial arts instructor, and she has a small business where she creates all kinds of interesting crafts for people. She's kind of a craft for hire. Really neat. Pens, Buddha notes, commissions, and then she's got a contact page. And speaking of digital citizenship earlier, I said we teach by doing. When kids are building a website about themselves, that's when the moment comes to teach them, don't put your phone number and your address on there. Don't put your social, don't do those things that we always say don't do. It's super relevant now to them. It's real to them now. And that's why I think teaching in hypotheticals for digital citizenship is something that's got to become part of our history. Kids don't respond very well to hypotheticals anymore, especially when it comes to online behavior. Here's Jared Wilson. He's a UAH student. You may teach him. I don't know. He's a math whiz. You'll see here. I'll show you his accomplishments. He got a 5 on his AP calculus exam, which blows my mind. He's an Eagle Scout, admitted to UAH, directed, wrote, and edited a film. You can see his written work here. What I love about Jared's written work is that most of these things are not school assignments. It shows that he has a passion for writing that far supersedes his experience in Madison City Schools. Movie reviews. He's got some of his essays for UAH admittance. He's a photographer, so he's got a lot of his photography here. Really beautiful stuff. This is a really simple and clean website, and I recommend simplicity. I really do. I think simple always wins, especially when it comes to design. And then he's got a ton of movies, and this is just 10 or 15 of his best work. He's curated his best films that he did at James Clemens and at Liberty Middle School. I had the luxury of teaching him for 5 years, so I know him very, very well. And you can see here something that we haven't talked about yet. He's kind of labeled himself. And this is something that we worked at Heritage today with 6th graders, and we had such a great time talking about stereotypes. And it gets very psychological. But I think it's a really important conversation, and it's all about citizenship. We talked about stopping bullying. The way to stop bullying is to discuss the idea of stereotypes with kids and making it real for them. And so what we explain to them is that stereotypes come from external sources and are placed on you. So it's labels that other people place on you. And with digital portfolios, we flip that script completely. And the kid creates their own label, their own stereotype, and they say, here world, think of me this way. And we have all of these really cool labels that kids come up with for themselves. The last one I'll show you, this is an adult one. This is Mark Krinsky, who came here recently. It's not the coolest website, and he'll be the first to admit, though he's super future-minded, and most of the stuff he writes about is technology-related, he's really not that good with technology. He said he went to the Apple store to learn how to make movies in iMovie, right? And this guy's like a super well-published author and futurist. So that's Mark Krinsky. We have, what's his name? I forget.
General Bowles?
Yeah. And so he's got a portfolio of sorts here. He's got a lot of his speaking engagements and all kinds of stuff, how to access his book, etc. So that just kind of gives you an idea of where we're headed. And every kid's looks different, and that's what we love about it. So let me jump back to, here we go. All right, so now that and we do this with kids, now that you've done that, turn over the sheet. It's the exact same questions. We're going to give you 30 seconds this time. The only rule here is that you can't write anything on the back that you've already written on the front. After seeing some, after Googling yourself, after thinking through it a little bit, is there anything that you can add to either of those two questions? And maybe we just do that out loud right now. Can anybody think of a different answer to either of those questions? I will tell you this, kids do. Yeah.
I think that I would put children, since I'm a pre-K teacher.
Uh-huh.
I think I would talk about how child development occurs and focus on the child.
Cool. Very cool. Anybody else?
I'll tell you, one thing I use my portfolio for is I kind of looked at myself as my own audience, and I put things on there to hold myself accountable. I have all my unfinished art projects. I think I have about 10 on there, and maybe 20 or 30 still at home. I started taking pictures of them and reflecting on them and why I stopped, and I put them on my website so that knowing that public audience and myself would kind of keep myself accountable. It's kind of weird.
And that kind of links back to what I was saying about self-fulfilling prophecies. You put it on there, if it's unfinished or if you haven't achieved that goal yet, if you put it on there and you're constantly going back to it and looking at it, you're gonna feel that push to go further and finish things. And we've already seen a lot of that happen with our students. Anybody else have anything new?
I would use it to also showcase my students.
Yeah. And when mine's never going to be finished, but mine's actually not published yet. I still do show it to students when we go present sometimes, but it's not published yet because it's just not where it needs to be. But when I finish it, I'm going to have a lot of work that hopefully I've helped inspire in schools. I want to showcase my students' work on my portfolio and just discuss how I was involved in their process. And I think that's really powerful. It's something that maybe we don't have an opportunity to do as often as we would like as teachers. So, let's now take a quick, maybe 5 minutes, and have a look at the brainstorm sheet. This brainstorm sheet, with kids, we take a really, really long time at this, and maybe we abbreviate it a little bit today, but there are 5 bubbles around you. We have strengths and we have weaknesses. Those are self-explanatory. And then we have passions, things that you are passionately excited about. They can be school-related, they can be not school-related, it doesn't matter. Just things that you're passionately excited or interested in. And on the flip side, we have passions that are negative, things that infuriate you, things that anger you, things that you wish you could change about the world, yourself, whatever, your community. And that really helps open up kids to a much larger purpose for these portfolios. And then the last thing, and this is always one that we have to explain 3 or 4 times, especially with younger kids, self-expression modes. So everybody expresses him or herself differently. And for me, as you probably have noticed, when I have an idea and I want to share it with people, I typically use video. That's just kind of my thing. It's just natural for me. But I also love to write and I like to talk. So I would write down all those things. Well, a 6th grade female may love to express herself through dance or through poetry or whatever. And so what we're going to ask is that you take about 5 minutes and just jot down, there are no rules here, just kind of all over the sheet, get as much about yourself as you can on this brainstorm sheet. Remember, just because you write it on this brainstorm sheet does not mean that it has to find its way into your portfolio. It's just a sort of exploratory time. So let's take like 5 minutes or so and knock that out. I don't want to abbreviate too much, but, and as you think of things, just continue writing it down. But I would like to know, anybody have a hard time doing this? Yeah? First time I tried it, I stared at the sheet for about 5 minutes before I began. And I think that's common among adults, and it's common among some students too. Every kid's different. Some just fly right through it. But some can just sit there and freeze up because they've never been asked to think this way before about themselves. Is there a particular category that you struggled with more than others?
Things I want to change.
Things you want to change?
Science or-
Yeah. And I think if you're anything like me, that's always on my mind. So like I had to sift through like a file of 1,000 things. Like what are the top 5? What are the top 10? I don't know. Anybody else have one that they thought was particularly challenging? What was your easiest one?
Interested in.
Interested in? Yeah. Did you write things down that weren't education related? Yeah? When I started brainstorming mine out, I realized that about half the things on my sheet were music related. Even though I feel like 98% of my energy is always focused on education, music is what kept coming back around. And so I was like, well, let's just go with it. And so now my label it says Daniel Witt, educator, record producer, daddy. That's my label, because it was a big part of what kept coming up in my brainstorming sessions. And that's good for self-discovery, especially for kids who maybe haven't thought about themselves this way. It's really important for them to do this. So the last thing we put on the board, and you just keep on referring back to that sheet and writing things down as you think of it. But the last thing we put on the board as we say goodbye to these kids is think. It sounds really obvious, but it's a really important moment for us in that room when we have the whole group there and we're talking to a group of, let's say, 6th graders. We talk to them about how at night our tendency in 2016 is to lay in bed and be on Facebook or look on our phones until it's time to pass out. And then we lock our phones, put it on the nightstand, and fall asleep. How many of you do that? Yeah, I do that so often. My wife does that a lot. In fact, sometimes my 5-year-old Silas will say, or 6-year-old Silas will say, Daddy, put your phone away, it's time for bed, because he sleeps in the room with us. So this is a really important time to talk to kids about, what if you tried not doing that? What if you put your phone down earlier than that, and you laid in bed with a lamp on, and you stared at the ceiling, and you reflected on who you are, you reflected on your day, what went well, what could have gone better, that kind of stuff. And I think it's a moment for kids, especially younger kids, where maybe they haven't even considered that yet. That laying in bed and reflecting or sitting up and thinking about themselves and thinking about their day is an option because they're incredibly distracted by screens. So that's the end of phase 1. That's how we wrap it up. Phase 2 with kids would typically be a totally separate day. And this is the phase where we really maximize the adult to student ratio. That first session could be 1 or 2 adults and we could get away with it, right? If it's a giant room of people and there's 1 or 2 people leading the session, we got a microphone. It's good. It's kind of a captive audience there for an hour and a half or so. But phase 2, we sit in small groups. And we probably won't do that today if you're kind of already in small groups. But we'll sit with 4 or 5 kids and 1 adult. 4 or 5 kids over here and 1 adult. Because what they're about to do is take everything about themselves that they threw at this sheet, and they're going to break themselves into about 8 categories. And categorizing one's selfhood is maybe the most challenging thing about this process. And that's why we still haven't even opened a laptop at this point with kids, because this is the critical phase. If we lose them on this phase, they are going to struggle for the rest of it. And so we sit down with them, and we do a few things. And this is their opportunity to do my label, but I think it works best toward the end of the day. So everybody look at this giant graphic organizer that you have. Drawers is a really good way to visualize this. So Molly's typically our graphic organizer guru. And so she put this together, and it's really served us very well. We have 4 non-negotiable categories for our kids, at least at 5 through 8 level. And these non-negotiables are the homepage. Every website has a homepage, right? But you can still make some notes about what you want your homepage to have on display. What do you want to feature? What's your color scheme? What types of fonts do you like? That type of stuff matters to kids, and it matters to adults too. And then we've got the About Me page. We tell them that's non-negotiable. You can call it something else, but it needs to be there. Just a simple page where it's a photo or a video and maybe a paragraph. Sum yourself up. And then we have a My Learning category, which is absolutely non-negotiable for our kids. And they can change the name of it, but it's got to be about their academic experience. And then we've got an Up Till Now box. An Up Till Now is typically an end-of-year reflection. And we let kids use whatever medium they wish. So if a kid likes to write, that's one of their self-expression modes, they can write a short essay about their school experience up till now. Or they can make a short video, kind of like Maggie did, and kind of like Jared actually did, but I didn't show you. I would probably choose the video. Some kids would prefer to write a poem about their experience. We're okay with that. Whatever it is, just a reflection of their school career up till now, or their lives up till now. And then as they leave high school, it's my final word. What is it that you want to leave behind? I think of it kind of as the thing in the yearbook where a senior says what they wish to leave. What do you call that? Last will and testament or whatever. Yeah. But they do my final word, and Jared chose to do a video thanking Madison City Schools for an excellent learning experience over the life of his career in school. And he talked about how it helped him harness his creativity. He talks a lot about how Madison City Schools helped get him out of his shy box that he was in and really branch out and start partnering with unlikely partners. And it's really important that he had the opportunity to do that. I don't know that he could have articulated it had it not been part of the assignment. So I really urge you, if you choose to do this with kids, include that in there. Keep that in there. It's a really important one. The most important thing here, I think, for kids is the empty boxes. These empty boxes are what make you you. They're the things that make your portfolio unique and different from everyone else. So what we're going to try to do right now, and we're not going to finish. Nothing we do today is going to get done, right? But we're going to try to break ourselves into categories. I told you that my label was educator, record producer, and dad. So one of my boxes is called music or records. And then inside of it, I have subcategories. Records that I've made, my school experience, because I went to school for audio engineering, all that stuff. And another kid might have art. They might label one box art. And then inside of it, they have paintings, drawings, and whatever else, pottery. And so this helps them sort of visualize what's eventually going to become the navigation of their website. So these boxes become this stuff across the top. And so once they put that together, then it starts making sense for them. So let's take some time right now. And if you want to bounce some ideas off of each other, great. Or if you want to bounce some ideas off of us, great. Typically, like I said, we would have an adult at every table with the kids. But give it a shot. And like I said earlier, this is the part where Dr. Fowler kind of shut down. He thought, I got work and family. I got 2. I don't have 8, you know. And so we helped him sort of work through a little bit, and he got it very quickly. It was within 10 minutes he had the whole thing filled out. But it was a hurdle that he had to get over, and I think a lot of people are that way. How can you break yourself into categories? So, let's take some time to do that now. We'll try to take about 10 minutes and if you get stuck, look back at your brainstorm sheet, and it kind of helps open you up a little bit. Station, whole group. You said work one and a personal one, and do they merge, and should they merge? Maybe we should have that conversation. Do you want to? Yeah. Okay, guys, let's let that graphic organizer breathe for a second. Let's kind of jump out of that for 1 second and have a conversation quickly about. So Missy in the back said the idea of personal versus work, and do they merge in a portfolio, or should they merge? I don't know that anyone can answer that question for you. For me, mine is largely professional, but it's kind of multi-professional. It's not just education, it's music too, and a couple of other things, design and other things that I do. But then I put in my label that I'm a daddy and that that's one of the top 3 things about me. So the question is, do I want like a portfolio of my kids and everything on my website? And the answer at the moment for me personally is no, I don't. I want people to know that I'm a daddy and that that matters deeply to me, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to feature like a Facebook page sort of experience for my audience. You may be totally different. You may be building a website for something totally different. So I don't know that there's an answer. What do you guys think?
I think it depends on your audience,
Yeah, I
what
agree.
you're gonna use it for.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else have a thought about that?
Well, you know, I feel like I'm kind of a strange bird because I work at Rainbow Elementary in their enrichment program and their exploratory classes, but then I also teach at UAH.
Yeah.
So, so I could have a box on enrichment and exploratory and have videos and pictures
Mhm.
of things that we do there. But then as an American government instructor at UAH in Calhoun, I could have a whole political
Yeah,
thing for my students
yeah.
to see. So, you know, do I put that all together, or do I do 2 different websites? You know, one for geared for an elementary audience, or one for a college,
Right,
you know?
right. And you may end up doing that. You may end up building 2 sort of mini websites
Yeah.
for 2 separate purposes. And the skills that you're going to learn with web design are going to let you do that. For me, I'm really interested in people understanding me. I'm really interested in that empathetic side of things, and I really want people to see the depth of who I am. Even like when I'm in an education setting with a group of teachers, I really want them to know a little bit more deeply who I am, because I think that enhances my experience in education. It enhances our partnership. And so I'm not a completely open book, obviously, but I do like that depth. But, you know, for me, the question is always, well, how deep is that? How personal do I want to get? I do like showing the diversity of my interests and passions and talents. I like that. And for my purpose, that's all I want to do. I just want a space where kids and adults can see who I am and see that I'm not just a one-trick pony, that I'm not just a teacher, that I'm something more, a lot more, hopefully. And so that's kind of my agenda, is to help enhance partnerships by sharing who I am with people. If you really want to know me and you want to keep up with my kids from day to day, follow me on Facebook. You know what I mean? But if you want to just get a picture, a snapshot of who I am and interact with me a little bit, my portfolio is a great place to visit. So that's kind of how I think of it. How easy is this, categorizing yourself into boxes, into drawers?
I was saying to Emily that I feel like when you're older, for me, it's so much easier because I have so many categories. I
Yeah.
can imagine a 10-year-old, maybe
Right.
they don't have that many categories. They have
Yeah.
baseball and video games. I mean, you know, I don't know.
No, I think what you just said there, it hits the nail on the head. Trust me, we've been to every elementary school,
Yeah.
and that is a thing.
I've done a lot.
I've done a lot
of
too.
boxes.
Yeah, that's
So,
good, that's good.
Kids,
Yeah. And that's really important though, because then we're talking about aspirations. And we have a really cool conversation with kids every school we go to about how there's 2 versions of yourself. There's the 6th grade version of yourself in the room right now, and then there's that future version of yourself. And when making your portfolio, you can't neglect that version of yourself. So, and we talk about that, think about that, and that's when the self-fulfilling prophecies start popping up. You know, what do they want to be? What sort of baseline talents do they have that could eventually lead to a career in that thing, or a lifetime hobby in that thing? But you're right. I think you just have more to work with.
if you had a box called Dreams, I would probably sit here all day and it'd be hard for me to fill that out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And some of our
But
kids do
kids
have.
could do that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good box for
Mhm.
kids.
A lot of kids do choose to have my future self or my dreams or my aspirations. And we also work with them to come up with catchy little titles that make people want to click on it, you know? I want to know more, so I click on this thing because the title sounds interesting. And that's important when you're talking about a website.
And developing their label is something that kids struggle too, and I think as an adult, if you were asked to put yourself in 3 or 5 words, and that's what the world thinks about you, so I kind of challenge you all. I think that's one of the things we challenge the kids and we challenge ourselves. What is your label? We know what Apple says on themselves, we know what Nike says of themselves, we know what the big companies say, and that's the image they brand out there, so what is your brand?
And that's really what this is, a brand of self, kind of. If you look at Mark Prensky, look at his little logo at the top. Mark Prensky, practical visionary. That's a great, great brand or label. So let's actually try to do that right now. Let's try to think of about 5 words or less that captures who we are and how we want the world to think of us. I told you mine, but mine's likely to change next month because I do that kind of stuff. And yours will probably change because we're crazy. But like, you know, who are you in 5 words or less? Very challenging. And it's especially challenging, kind of like you said, for kids who maybe haven't had enough life experience to label themselves yet. But we have a lot of fun ones. Oh yeah, you'd be surprised at how amazing. Try to think of some that we heard today. I mean,
Blonde, blonde, that's mine.
yeah, there's the silly girl who called herself the non-blonde blonde. She's, yeah, she's really, really intelligent, but she's also kind of flighty, you know. And so it's kind of her personality.
We have an artistic mathlete. He's a mathematician and athlete, and he wanted that.
Yeah. It's a really cool way. Gianna Carter, who graduated James Clemens last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember. I taught her at Jets Press there. Her problem was that she was a fantastic athlete, which doesn't sound like a problem. In fact, it got her a full ride at a great college, and she's still doing that. But she was a track star, major track star. And her problem was that she got pigeonholed. Everybody who knew her thought of her as the athlete. That's who she is. That's so incredibly limiting for a kid, you know? And so I worked with her to help her develop her brand that would help open up that image. And so her label, it said Gianna Carter, an athlete with an artistic eye. And so you're starting to see a much broader image of that person now. And I think that's really important.
Kids could say singer, period, inspirer, period, actress. Like that inspire is a big thing too, that they think of themselves.
Yeah. Let's try that. At the top of your sheet, write my label and try to create a 5-word or less label for yourself. Many of you will not pull this off tonight. And that's okay.
It took me, we've been doing this since August, and somewhere around maybe December, I finally solidified on one, and now I'm still even wavering, so it's big.
Yeah. Again, the purpose in the audience will help shape this. If I were creating a portfolio just to get a job, or my next job or whatever, my label would be very, very different than what it is now. So you gotta figure out the purpose before you can even figure out the label. Not that I'm looking for another.
What I tell kids to at this point, just write down your fluency, as many words as you can think of to describe yourself, and then just lay them all out there, and then sometimes things pop up, or they merge things together, or they think of cooler words for those things, but just kind of, work on it, just get it out.
Yeah, get it out. That's what we do. Like that's how we came up with Steal Mine. We literally wrote 300 words on a whiteboard one day and just started connecting dots and marking through things and circling words, and then eventually it merged into one sort of brand. And that's how this process will work for you, very likely. All right, everybody in a web browser and it's logged into Google? Okay, so being logged into Google is going to help you do this, and this helps kids too, because kids don't like typing in our gigantic email address. So go to wix.com, W-I-X.com.
Right here.
This is what we've chosen to use with our older kids. we are considering jumping ship for elementary, 5th and 6th grade to Weebly. Weebly leaves a little bit less flexibility involved, and sometimes that works better for 5th and 6th graders. But Wix is sort of more freeform and allows for more creative expression, and that's why we like it. Now, as you get younger than 5th grade, I mean, 3rd and 4th graders can begin tinkering with Weebly and Wix, but really, as you get that young, you're talking about tools such as Seesaw and things of that nature. If you don't know Seesaw, it's pretty great. My kindergartner is using it, and my 3rd grader is using it in Athens, and many of our teachers in Madison City are using it. It is an absolute window into the kids' experience for the parent. So if you don't know Seesaw, I'm going to give you a quick overview of it. I can't really show it to you here, but I have it on my phone, and it's just an app, the parent app, and I can see the things that my son, who's in kindergarten, does throughout his day. If your kids are anything like mine, and I'm pretty sure that they are or were, when they get home from school, you say, "What did you do today?" They always say nothing, right? Or same old, or whatever. But in the moment, they're super engaged in their learning. And so with Seesaw, the teacher or the student can film or take photos or annotate photographs or do whatever and post it right there in the moment when they're heavily engaged, and immediately it pops up. And I can either type in comments, kind of like a Facebook post, or I can do voice comments for my son, who's in kindergarten, who doesn't read very well yet. So I'll say, "Great job, Silas. I wonder what would happen if instead of dividing 6 by 2, you divided 5 by 2. What would happen?" And so that kind of, now I'm engaged in his learning. And Seesaw is really powerful for that.
I could sign in.
A lot of high school,
Say what?
I could sign into my account.
so you
Oh,
use it,
yeah.
okay, a lot of teachers are using it in high school as a very simple journal that you can feed to, and kids can post immediate feedback.
I love that my kids are on Seesaw. I mean, it's changed the game. It's changed our conversation. When they get home, instead of me asking, "What'd you do today?" I say, "Tell me more about that Lego project you did. That looked really great. Why did you make this choice?" And now we're actually having a meaningful conversation instead of the blank or generic statement or question, "What did you do today?"
And Daniel, I think I told you this before, but my son's teacher flips her classroom
Right.
in that way.
Using Seesaw?
Yeah,
Mhm.
where she does videos of the stations that they're going to do in class during that week.
And their homework is to explore those stations
Their
using
home-
video?
Yeah, their homework on the weekends is to watch those videos, and then on Monday come to school ready to do the stations.
Yeah. And my kid's kindergarten teacher is toying with that. She's done 2 this year. She's a first-year teacher, so she's kind of like getting her feet wet in it, but she's excellent. It's basically like a Facebook feed, but the only for most of the time it's just the kid, the parents or grandparents, and the teacher. So it's a 3-way conversation that's taking place at all times. Really cool stuff.
But the
This
teachers
is-
have to, the teachers have to have and be a part of it, right?
Right, the teacher starts the class and initiates the whole thing and creates the students' accounts, and then also curates the content. So if a kid posts something that's either inappropriate or isn't meaningful in some way, they'll not approve it. And so my kid's kindergarten teacher is every afternoon she stays an extra 30 minutes and approves or disapproves all of the commenting or all of the posts and things. And then it happens in reverse too. So me as the dad, I'll leave a voice comment for Silas, and then he has to wait till she's approved it before he hears it. And I think it's really important because I think I'm pretty good with my kid, but maybe some dads aren't. And so if the dad left a comment that might hurt the kid's feelings, the teacher has an opportunity to kind of step in there.
It's probably the simplest piece of technology that will come around for teachers and parents both on both ends.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Yeah,
So-
it's beautiful. And there was a story about Seesaw on one of our news stations with Madison City. What was that? I can't remember the context of all that. Remember that? And we shared it on Twitter, and then Seesaw tweeted us and said, "Hey, this is amazing. Thank you so much." I can't remember, but anyway. Okay, so now phase 3. Phase 3, hopefully it's been a week or 2 since we saw the kids. We come back in. They have Chromebooks out. We asked them not to open them up yet, but they have Chromebooks out for the first time. and they get really, really excited because all this work that they've done, all this mental energy they've expended is now going to bear some fruit, right? So very quickly, I just want to review this outline of what the day looks like so that you know where we're headed. We start with what's your label. We kind of reprise that whole thing. We talk to them more about it. Hey, did you have any epiphany since we saw you last about your label and so forth? And then we show them a few more examples of portfolios so that it just gets their brain tuned back into that channel. Then we tell them to log into their Chromebooks and go to Wix. Then they have to find a template. They have to sift through hundreds of great templates and find the one that they think will work best for them. And that's a process. Trust me, that's tough. And then we have them build their navigation bar. So we have them, they bring these sheets back out, they review them really quickly, and then we have them build their navigation bar for their homepage or for their website to match these boxes. All right? And then they add content and personalize it, and then we reflect, how can I get better? And we talk to them about the only way to get better at web design and using this platform is by doing it. There is no such thing as a Wix teacher, right? There's an English teacher and a history teacher, but there's no such thing as a Wix teacher. I'm not a master of it, none of us are. Every time a kid asks us a difficult question about Wix, we have to figure it out with them. So we talk to them about they may actually be better at it than we are. And then we have some notes for the teacher here, mostly about helping kids understand Google Drive and cloud-based storage systems and how to stay organized for life. Right? So create a folder in your Google Drive called Digital Portfolio, and then create a folder for every one of these boxes so that throughout the year, you already have the foundational organization to start adding your content into Google Drive. And that's really good. If they write a great essay, put it in Google Drive. If they have an amazing painting they did in art class, take a stunning looking photo of that and drop it into Google Drive so that you have it. So when the time does come to work on your portfolio, you've got content to pull in. So let's do it. Go to Wix.com, and you're going to click Sign In at the top right. And then you're going to click Sign In with Google, the red Sign In with Google button. And if you have already logged in to Google with your Madison City account, it's just going to let you right in. Kids love that.
And not that any of you speak any different language, but we just, I don't know what happened. But this spring, every class we walked in, we had a new child, and we had one girl from Japan, and we have a boy from Vietnam. So the little girl from Japan was first day in the country in the school. So we switched the website to Japanese, and she was fine with that.
Yeah.
So there are millions of languages, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So when we're signing,
It'll sign you, yeah.
just signing with Google.
Just click the red button.
So you should end up at a page that looks something like this, though mine and yours are going to look very different because I have a lot of samples that I've already created.
Yeah, just click
Or
the red button.
actually, yours probably looks more like, I don't know what yours looks like. It's always different, and kids using Chromebooks, maybe it looks like this. Like this. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so what we got to do first is we got to spend some time digging through the templates. The template is a very important step because once you choose a template and start editing the content, there is no going back. If you choose a different template a month from now, you're going to lose all of the stuff, all the hard work you've done. You got to rebuild it from scratch. There's no way to just, it's not like PowerPoint where you can switch to a different design template and it keeps the same kind. It's not like that. And it can't really be like that. Websites are a little bit more complex. So the first thing you want to do is click on templates at the top. And then down the left-hand side of the page are all of these categories. And we talk to kids about don't use businesses or online store. If your template has a shopping cart, ignore it. This is not a shop that you're doing. And so there are photography ones, music ones, design ones. Then there's a category called portfolio and CV. And that's where we lead kids to begin the process of looking through templates, and we would urge you to do the same. It doesn't mean that these are not applicable. They can be. And some of the coolest portfolios we've seen kids design, they actually go into the music category, the photography category, and pick one of those templates. But portfolio and CV templates are already designed for these purposes. We also talk to kids about, like if a male student saw this one, he would never click on it and see if he wants to use it. If I hover over this, I've got two options, edit and view. To test drive it, to test drive the template before you make a selection, you just click view. It's going to open it in a separate tab, and you can test drive it. You can sort of see how it works, what the animations look like, if there are any, and so forth. But this is a really cool time where we talk to kids about no guy in the class is going to select this template. But the truth is, the first thing he's going to change is these photos. He's going to change them to photos of him hitting a ball or of him painting or whatever he's doing. And all of a sudden, this is actually a gender-neutral template. If you look at it, it's black and white, it's a sleek modern font, and it's very, very simple. So there's really nothing feminine about this template at all, except the photography. So take some time right now and dig through all these templates and see if you can find one that looks like a good starting point. You're going to change literally almost everything about it, but you want to change as little as possible. This takes time. Just explore them. There's multiple pages. If you scroll down, you can jump to other pages of templates.
When you find one you like, just leave it up on that tab. Go back and find a different one so then you can remember where they are. They'll all be up in your tabs. You have to dig for it. Test drive it. Decide. Yeah.
You are also welcome to use Weebly.com, W-E-E-B-L-Y. Weebly is what Mackie used, and hers is gorgeous. It's a different user experience, maybe a hair simpler. So if you get through the evening and you don't feel like you found anything that really nails it for you, in your free time, check out Weebly.com. You might find something that really strikes you there. All right, so I'll make a choice too. I'll choose the Sarah Lane template right here. I'm going to click Edit.
And do you just put your name in and see if it's available?
All right, so when I click Edit, it's no longer a functional, drivable, usable website. I'm in editor mode. Good way to know if you're in editor mode. If you are, you will see dotted lines kind of outlining the parameters of your site, right? At any point, while I'm editing my site, I can click Preview and test drive it. At any point. And then if I want to go back and edit something, I click Back to Editor, and now I'm editing whatever page I was on. So, the most important thing that you need to know foundationally about Wix is that up at the top left, beside the Wix logo, there's a Pages pane. I'm going to click on that. And I see all of the pages of my template currently, all of the pages of my website. So, I'm looking at my sheet here, my sheet with drawers on it, and I notice that I have music as one of my drawers, but I look at my template and I don't see music as one of my drawers. So in the pages pane, instead of nature, I can double click it and I can change it to music. So now, if I preview, you'll see I now have a music page. Not a nature page. Now I'm going to have to get in and edit this page so that it has something to do with music, but at least I have created or started to create the navigation of my site. Here's what I recommend you do first. I recommend that you click on the Pages pane and make it match your graphic organizer. One last thing about that before I set you free on it. Let's say under music I have two different subcategories. Records I have made and actually let's change it all together. Let's say I have an art category. And in the art category, when the user hovers over the word art, up pops a drop down that says paintings, drawings, and pottery. I'm going to show you how to do that really pretty easily here in Wix. So I'm going to, instead of music, I'm going to call it art. So I'm going to add a page by clicking Add Page at the bottom and then choosing Page. And I'm going to say Drawings. Now I'm going to add another page, and I'm going to call it Paintings. And then I'm going to add one more page, and I'm going to call it Pottery. Now, if you'll notice, I'll preview it so you can see, these are actually not subcategories yet. These are just like primary categories across the top. to make them into subcategories, in the Pages pane, I will click and hold on the word drawings, and I will pull it slightly to the right until it clicks. I'm going to do the same thing with paintings, the same thing with pottery. Now I'm going to click preview to see if it's functional. Notice that they're gone now. When I hover over art, it's sub-menu. When I hover over art, I got to click on it in this one, apparently. Yeah. Some of these templates do that, or maybe it's just lagging, which is more likely. But see how it's a sub-menu now? So what I would recommend that you do now is go ahead and create the navigational backbone of your site in the Pages pane, using the Drawers graphic organizer as a guide. And let us know if you need any help. We'll hook you up.
One thing too, I've been telling kids, if you don't like the look of that page, like that template, you might just delete that whole page and add a new one that's blank, and you can build it from scratch.
That's what I chose to do,
Yeah.
because I like to build things from scratch. I don't want to have to go in and delete and maneuver and finagle things. I like to start plain.
We ran across a lot of kids that were like, I don't want all this stuff. I'm like, well, just delete it. We'll put in a new page, it'll be blank.
Yep.
And they were much happier with that, so.
That's a good moment actually to talk about that. You always want to save, save, save. This is not like Google Docs. It's not going to auto-save. You have to save at the top right. I wish they had put the save button a little further away from the blue publish button though, because kids automatically want to hit publish. Some of them click it by accident. The thing about Wix that's a little bit problematic, and we found a cool workaround, but I wish we didn't have to work around. Once a kid publishes, there is no unpublishing. Not using Wix. And so what we have to do is we go in, we make a duplicate of their site and delete the old one to unpublish. That's the workaround. And it's pretty easy to do. If that ever comes up, shoot us an email, we'll show you how to do it. Once you publish, it's live on the web. It's Googleable. It's findable. Searchable. If you haven't saved since you built your navigation backbone, it's a good time to save. And you can call it whatever you want. You can call it my portfolio, you can call it my site, you can call it 1, 2, 3.
So yeah, individuals just come out of here.
All right, let's take a break from that for a second. I'm going to show you 4 or 5 really important things about changing and adding content to your site. So, first thing I want to show you is that right up here, I can preview this. I can switch over to a mobile view. So this is what it would look like if somebody went to it on an iPhone, if you had it enabled. If I preview it, I can actually test drive it to see what it would be like on a phone. So Wix kind of auto does that for you. It gets a little messy though, so I recommend if you do choose to use the mobile site, always double check the decisions that you make to see if they display the way you want them to on a phone. Alright? That's the first thing I want to show you. Now I'm going to switch back over to the desktop view. Personally, I don't like the mobile versions of websites. In fact, Aaron and I just took away completely the mobile version of Madison City Schools website. And that John and I really worked hard to make sure that happened, because have you ever used the mobile site?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a hassle. John will post some amazing article that he wrote or a blog post that he wrote, and he'll send it out, and then parents and everybody else will click on it, and it'll go to the mobile homepage. And then you have to dig and find it, which nobody does. And it just wasn't a good system. I much prefer, especially on my new iPhone 6 or bigger, I like to have a fully functioning website on my phone. That's how I prefer it. I don't like mobile versions of sites. But if you do, you can activate it, turn it on. Some people like that. It depends on what you're doing. So, what happened? You got shifting around here. Let me refresh this page. All right, so that's the first thing I want to show you. The next thing I want to show you is to edit text. You can double click it, and now I'm typing. Now I'm editing. While I'm in this editing mode, if I want to change the font or the size, highlight this stuff, and using this text settings box, I can adjust font size, I can adjust the font, I can change the color of the font, I can change the highlights of the font. I'll show you what that looks like. So it's more like a highlighter. Not cool looking at all. Okay, you get the idea here. There's lots of stuff that you can do here with text. Now, if I want to edit a photo, here I have, if I click once on this item, this picture right here, I will actually discover this is not an individual photograph, not in this template. This is actually an entire gallery widget. This whole thing is a single widget. So if I click once on it and I see this blue box pop up around it, I know that's actually one big item that I'm dealing with. If I like it, I just don't like the photos, I can click Change Images, and I can go in and I can upload images here by adding images. When I do that, on any of your laptops, you can access photos that are on your computer. You can access anything that's on an SD card or a thumb drive, or, and this is what our kids are doing, they can go to Social Images, and they have access to Instagram, Flickr, and Google Drive. So usually what they're using is Google Drive. So they click Google Drive. This is my entire Google Drive. So this is why it's so critical that kids are organized on Google Drive. So if they are on their art page and they've already got it organized in Google Drive, all they got to do is find their art folder in Google Drive, and they got everything waiting on them right there. And when they can click on it and pull it in. So I'll pull in this picture of a Tesla, add it to the gallery. Now I've added this picture, and I can delete some other images that I don't like. And when I hit done, now I've got that picture of that car right there. If I do not like this widget, this gallery widget, I like the idea of having a slideshow or a gallery, I just don't like this particular layout. All I've got to do is click Design, I think. Yes. I click the little paintbrush, which says Design on it, and I see that I actually have a giant variety of gallery types. So I can do this little honeycomb version of it. Same photos, different way of displaying. And if you keep scrolling down, you have these really great scrollable ones that I tend to use frequently. So I'll show you what that looks like in preview mode. You can make it auto scroll, or you can make it to where they can scroll through using the right and left arrows. So that's a gallery. But let's say I don't like having a gallery on this page at all. I click that item once, I hit the delete or backspace key on my keyboard. Now it's gone and I have a blank slate. This is how I prefer to operate, right? So now I've got a blank slate, what do? 9 times out of 10, I go to the add button right here, and you see all the stuff you can add. You can add a text box, image, which is a single image, or a gallery, which is what I just showed you, or buttons or boxes or shapes or strips. You can add a video. Let me show you how to add a video. This is going to be pretty relevant for you guys. Let's say I click on video. Here, YouTube and Vimeo are the 2 most popular video services on earth. Let's go to YouTube. So I've put a video in here. Right now it's just a little placeholder. If I click change video, I can paste in a URL directly from YouTube, or I can click search and I can go find a video that I want to feature. Okay, so I'm going to put I'm Human into my site here. Now I've got that video in there. I can move it around just like PowerPoint. I can resize it. I can center it. I can do, if you see these little guides popping up, see that purple line right there? That means that item is dead center. That's what that means. So now when I click preview, I've got I'm Human on that page. I can also do a variety of things with the video. If I click the video, I can go to settings, and I can come over here and I can tell it to autoplay when a user goes to the site, which may or may not be a good thing. I don't know. I can make it play in a loop. I can do lots of stuff. I can actually make this the background of my site if I want, by stretching it way out and keeping it as the bottom layer. Now I can actually go to add, and add some text if I want on top. And it's going to create it in layers, kind of like in Photoshop if you've ever messed with Photoshop. So I'll make this white so that you can see it. Now when I go to preview it, it's going to autoplay with text on top of it. That's why I like Wix. I like to be freeform. I like to be able to do things and stack things and put things where I want them. Some of our kids don't think that way. Especially some of our special ed students might want something with a little less flexibility so that it kind of keeps them to where they're focusing on their content and on their reflection and on their learning rather than on web design. Only you can make those choices for your kids. But that's what I like. That advertisement that just popped up, by the way, was a YouTube ad, not a Wix ad. Wix doesn't have pop-ups. They just have this little Wix thing right up here, and then this little black banner at the bottom. That's all it is. Okay? So that's adding a video. You'd be surprised at how handy these shapes are. I kind of like to show Molly's creative solution.
Sure, go for it.
Can I? How do I get access to it? Do you need to log in as you here?
Oh, I might.
Want to do that?
Sure.
Come on. I want you guys to see, this is another reason I like Wix. I want you to see a solution that Molly came up with that is pretty cool. Okay, so this is Molly's homepage, guys. Molly, I'll let you explain to them kind of what this is, and then we'll show them the trick that you found.
Okay, well, just so you guys know, I've been working on this for months, and it's completely unfinished. Not only do I have my, I have those two kind of fleshed out, but that's still sitting in template, and that's a log, and that's still sitting in template. But you'll notice none of these are, this is all my home, those are all my buttons, but I hid a page. So I inserted a page, and then I hid it, and I put a little hidden link on here. If you click on the M, it'll take you to my hidden page. So it's not accessible anywhere except through the letter M on there. So that was something you can use the shapes for.
So go back to home.
Or you want me to go back on preview?
It's okay right here. So this is nothing more than a JPEG. This is an image. That's all it is, right? It's not functional buttons like a keyboard would be. It's just a really cool vintage typewriter. So what she did was, she overlaid a circle here, a shape, and then she made that shape link to an empty page, or to a hidden page, which is fairly easy to do. And then she reduced the opacity of that shape, of that circle shape, to 0, meaning the see-throughness, right? And so it's a blank, it's a see-through button, it's a see-through circle. But she linked that see-through circle to an empty page. Really cool use for a shape. That's why I love Wix. Because kids can get weird solutions to cool problems and do things like this. And Weebly, not so much liberty, not so much freedom. Really cool though, right? Yeah, yeah.
If you want to hide a page, you just go to any of your pages and just click the little eyeball and hit hide. It's
Yeah.
super easy.
You can show hide pages however you want, yeah.
Especially if you want to make a link off a page.
Yeah.
That's not your home page. It's your page.
Let's jump out of Internet Explorer. I'm going to drive you through a couple more features.
You can put a picture of this, speakers, and click on That's where
I'm going to show you 4 or 5 other things, and then it's just going to be playtime, and anybody, if you got to go, that's great. If not, we'll stick around and help you out a little bit.
But we're coming along.
I don't even know if I saved what I was just working on. Okay, here's a different template. Yeah, this is a cool one. This is what Dana's got in the back. It's really cool looking. You can add social buttons. This is a very common 2016 what most people do type thing. Take these buttons that are already branded exactly how these companies are good with, and you just insert them in. And when you insert them in, like I'll show you, I'll insert Twitter, or it's actually a whole social thing. I can move it wherever I want. Let's say I want to place it right here. And then if I set social links, I can click on one of the links, like I'll click on Twitter, and then over here I type in twitter.com/whitmister, which is my Twitter handle. So now, And if I want, I actually can delete, because I don't have a Pinterest account, so I'm going to delete that. I have an Instagram account, but it's mostly family, so whatever. So I'm going to save that. Now when I preview it, now that Twitter button links out to my Twitter account. I highly recommend doing this. It's pretty much standard on websites today, right? Linking out to at least one or two social media platforms is pretty standard. And you saw how Maggie actually kind of did it in her own way, in a really cool, creative way. But I like to just use those standard buttons like that. So that's another thing that you can add. The add thing is kind of 90% of what you're going to do in Wix. There's a contact form that you can add. So I can add a contact form to any page, place it wherever I want, and then I can set my email so that I don't have to publish my email account. And I'll say, it already autofilled it actually, dnwood@Madison City. So now, if somebody comes to my website, they type in their name, their email, the subject of the message, and they click send, it's going to go directly to my email account, but they never knew what my email address was. Good stuff, right? Yeah, really good stuff. All right, so that's the contact. The menu, we learned this the hard way today. Here's my menu. What we've been calling the navigation bar, Wix calls the menu. This has happened with a few students, and today we figured out how to fix it. Kids will come in here and accidentally delete their navigation, and then they will save it. And then they will go into freak out mode. All right? So I'm actually going to delete this because I just realized she has it in a much cooler way right here. Okay, so if you lose your navigation bar, it doesn't mean those pages are gone. They're still here, see? They're still there. What it means is you just got to add it back. So I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to go to Plus, Menu, and I'm going to look through here and select which one I want my menu to look like. I can customize it after selecting it. I like this one. So I'm going to click it and add it, move it back into place. Now I've got my menu back. So that may happen to you. If it does, that's hopefully how you're going to fix it. If I like the menu but I don't like the color scheme, I can click on it once and I can choose Design, and I can customize this design any way I want. I can change the fill color, change the background to nothing. I can change the behavior when a user hovers over it. I can change the behavior, like, you know how a button like changes colors when someone clicks on it? That type of behavior, that's one of those sort of interactive behaviors there. And I can change the color and the font. So that's how you do that.
Now, can you change how many things are on the menu?
Yes.
You know, how many
In fact, it should be an exact
it'll be
replica of however many pages you have.
Okay,
Yeah.
it automatically does
Yeah.
that.
So if I had a page like this,
Gotcha.
now it's up there. ASDF is now there. So it's all, the menu is always going to reflect however many pages. But like Molly showed you, if I don't want one of, like the ASDF page, I want it to be a page that exists and can get linked to from somewhere else, but I don't want it in my navigation bar. All I do is click the little triple dots here and choose hide. Now it's gone. The page still exists. I can still link to it from other ways, but it's not in my navigation bar. All right, I'm going to click it again and see what else we got. I've never used List. It is basically, John, that's something you're probably going to want. It's basically blog items. So let's say I go here and I insert the latest news widget. So now I've got basically a blog widget inserted on this page. And if I want to edit it, I'll add and manage items, and now I've got a whole blog widget. I can delete items. I can duplicate items. I can add a new item. This is kind of like your latest news on School Insights, right? So now I add a title, choose my date, do a little description, or this is actually my body text here. And then, I've never done this before. It says changes saved, so I guess I'm done. So now, when I preview it, I have that item here. So that's basically the blog widget. They call it List. All that means is it's like a revolving content widget.
They have both. I think the blog one has more of the you can reply.
Okay, they also have a blog widget. And these, like I said before, the only way to learn these things is just to try them out, you know? test it out, fail at it, fix it, whatever. And then you've got store items. You can add PayPal buttons, which I've actually done online. I want people to be able to buy my records, and so I put PayPal buttons on there. Our kids aren't doing that, at least not the younger ones. You can also add music, and I've done this also. In fact, I might just show you mine real quick. I want you to see a couple of things that I did on mine. So here's my portfolio in its current state. Not proud of it yet. I've kind of chosen to show my passion for family by just inserting fun little things. Like my kid designed this in Photoshop kind of by accident one day, and I was like, wow, that's beautiful, let's use that. But if you go to the music one, you'll see I've inserted little play buttons here. So you can actually play the music and listen to it. And all I did there was upload a 6 megabyte MP3 to Wix, and I created a button and said, play this MP3 when someone hits this button. We don't have the speakers on apparently, but you get the idea. And I also linked out to iTunes, which is a Wix feature. If I go back to editor and I add music, when I scroll down, I see the little iTunes button. So some of our kids are already doing these things. A lot of our high school students already have content on Spotify or Apple Music or iTunes. And so they have the ability to add those things there. These boxes I custom drew, and then I brought these in from Google Drive, these images. Your app market is to solve some of the more complex problems that you might have. You can look through it, and some of them are really, really fun and cool. They have third-party widgets, basically. So all the stuff you've seen so far are like Wix proprietary features, but if you go to the app market, you have a lot of free and some paid, but most of them are free, other widgets. I can embed HTML. If you're a nerd like me, you know how powerful that can be. Embedding HTML items is extremely powerful. We used to do it at James Clemens all the time. We'd have a slideshow that we created somewhere on the web, and on MediaCast, we would embed the HTML code onto all the screens in the hallway. And so we get forced content to those screens. HTML is very, very powerful, and it helps you solve some of the more complex problems. All kinds of stuff here. You can look through it when you get a chance. I've never used this, but it looks like this is a blog feature, and I've never used it, so can't help you there. That's Wix in a nutshell, guys. It's a lot of stuff, and it just takes time and effort and playing with it to get to. I'm going to show you one more thing, and then I'm probably going to hush. If and when you decide you want your own custom domain, terryjohnson.com, for instance, if you choose to do that one day, it will cost money. At the moment, you would be wix.com or terryjohnson.wix.com/myportfolio. But if you choose to make this a thing and get your own domain and get rid of the advertisements, all you got to do is click on upgrade. And I want to talk very quickly about these pricing options and what I would recommend for whatever it is you want to do. These are Wix pricing options, just so you know up front. For $4.08 per month, you can get a custom domain and a good amount of storage, probably more than you'll ever need. The big thing that takes up storage is video content. But we always host video content on YouTube or Vimeo. So really, that's not eating up your storage. You can throw 1,000 videos in your portfolio, and it take up almost zero data. So for $4.08 a month, you get a custom domain like mollybounds.com or danielwood.com, and that's great. But you still have the Wix ads at the top and the bottom. For $9.75, which is what I'm going to choose, you get this combo plan. I feel like a Wix salesman. But I gotta walk you through this because these are questions you're gonna have one day. Sorry. You get 1 year free of your domain. So I would get danielwitt.com for free. And I'd get a lot more storage if I ever needed it. And I'd get rid of the ads. To me, that's what I want. One of these days, I'm gonna upgrade to this plan, bite the bullet, pay $120 a year, or whatever it is, and I'm going to do that. These up here are for businesses. There is absolutely no reason that you would want this. This is all about, I mean, you get all kinds of stuff in with this. You get marketing tools for free, you get shopping carts and credit card transactional capabilities and all kinds of stuff. This unlimited one says for entrepreneurs and freelancers. I really don't know if I would ever want to choose that. You get like unlimited storage, or you get 10 gigabytes of storage and unlimited bandwidth. Really, the only time I would ever upgrade to this one, which I doubt will ever happen, is if I have lots of traffic on my site simultaneously. If I think I'm getting so popular that I've got 1,000 people accessing danielwitt.com at the same time, and it's bogging down and slowing down for my users, I would upgrade to that unlimited one. This is the one that some of you, as you seek a more professional portfolio, this is probably the one that you'll choose. Weebly has very congruent options. You know, they're very similar. So you just have a look at it and see if you ever need one. I think John's in the market, you know, johnpeck.com or .net, right? So he already owns johnpeck.net, so he's looking to get maybe this one right here or something in the future.
But I did make the error of locking that in without locking one of these plans in. And one of these plans says you get a free domain for a year.
Yeah.
And I can't, it doesn't credit me.
So he's already bought johnpeck.net, the domain, and that's relatively cheap. It's like $15 a year or something, right?
About 20.
$20 a year.
$40 for 2 years.
Oh, $40 for 2 years just to own johnpeck.net, right? And that's great. But now he wants to take advantage of this 1 year free thing, and he even called Wix, I think, and they were like, yeah, sorry, that's not how it works. So I would make the jump all at once. You know what I mean? So when you're ready to publish your site, whether you go for a paid option or not, when you're ready to publish your site to the web and make it searchable on the internet, and so that people can find you and see your portfolio, you click the blue publish sign here, button here, and you give it a good domain name, you make sure it's something you're comfortable with, and you hit done. Except I just published this site. It's nuts, man. You click one button and it's published. So now,
Can you unpublish?
okay, good question. That's another drawback of Wix. You cannot unpublish. But what we do, every once in a while, a sixth grader is going to accidentally click publish. When that kid does that, what we do is this. I could show you, but it's a hassle. You go into Wix.com to where it says My Sites, and you create a duplicate of the site, and you delete the old one. Right, that's the way. It's kind of a workaround.
That's bad.
It is bad. And we're looking into ways that we can prevent that from happening in the future.
I guess they just want you to.
They really want you to publish your
Because
site.
we use Canvas as our learning management system at UAH, and everything you have, you can publish or unpublish anytime you want.
Yeah, and I wish Wix was like that. But it's not. They're a business. Even though this is free for our kids, they're still a business, and so they make it extremely easy to publish
You can copy
content.
the site.
Yeah, and really, it's not that
So you
bad.
don't have to show it.
Here, if I go to manage site on this one right here, and then I go over here, I just click duplicate site down at the bottom right, and I'll call it, my portfolio 1-2. Too long. Okay, so I've duplicated my site now. So now I've got portfolio 1, which I accidentally published, and I got portfolio 1-2, which is a duplicate of that. So now all I gotta do is go to manage site here and delete. It's really easy to do. Took us a minute to figure that out though. So I'm gonna go in there and I'm actually gonna delete that site.
Are you sure you want to publish?
Done. So it takes no time at all, but you do have to know how to do it. One last word about publishing. At the high school level, we are not requiring parent permission to publish a site. If a kid, 9th grader up, wants to publish a website, we let them do that. And then we're perfectly within our legal rights to do that. Middle school and elementary school, if a kid wants to publish their site, they have a parent permission slip that they take home, they fill out, and we make sure the parent understands exactly what the kid is doing here before they're allowed to publish their site. And so far, we don't have any elementary students who have chosen to publish. They probably will, but they just haven't gotten farther enough along where they're confident in their site. But one day they're going to want to publish their site, and when that day comes, their teacher and or media specialist will have those forms, those parent permission forms to fill out. So I'm kind of done. Are you guys kind of done as far as what we want to show?
Yeah, showing, I think.
Yeah. You have any questions right now, or you want to just kind of work?
I think it's one of those things you gotta play with.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And if you want to start working for maybe 15, 20 minutes, we can walk around and help you troubleshoot, because usually, okay.